single adult, it is expected that one should hold a job or have one source of income. And if you are raised with manners or even attended a finishing school, you learned workplace etiquette. You learned how to manage unknown situations or how to network, how to deliver on time and on budget. And you learn that every job is different. Every conversation enriches you. Some have one job in one office for many years until they retire. Others, much like myself, have forged a career with consulting, which usually involves travel, working from client site to client site. And what I do is I arrive at a client site, I wrestle with a problem until a solution is developed, and then I oversee the implementation of that solution. Then I hand over the reins to the people who are going to maintain it and move on to the next client. That's my job. I'm a consultant. I analyze and then I fix things. So travel and client on-site visits generally mean that I've had the opportunity to absorb local customs and mannerisms from all over. So as I travel, I bring with me a culmination of all of my past client cities, along with some of their mannerisms. In Switzerland, for example, some say that it is customary to not only introduce yourself along with your name and profession, but also with the canton or the town or area where you grew up or where your parents grew up. And that way you are fully labeled and people understand how to address you from here on out. Although in Switzerland, they probably can discern this simply by listening to how you converse. When I show up, on the other hand, I simply give my first name if I have time to do that, and then dive into the task at hand. So many may never even know of my presence. You see, I'm background, I'm invisible. I mean, of course, except to the person who actually hired me and signed that contract. This means that sometimes other people may eventually ask me those questions because they were never formally introduced to me. They may evaluate my mannerisms, my speech, my accent, my wardrobe, and they're unable to pigeonhole me. So I sometimes get that question, where are you from? And I generally reply with the city I am in now, or perhaps if it's a new assignment, the city in which I resided prior. My previous client city. No, they may correct me. What country are you from? Country? But this one, the one I'm standing in. Oh, you're from Pakistan. No. Uzbekistan? No, Stan, America. I was born here. Oh, you're from Australia, mate. Yeah, I could tell by your accent. Accent? Is seething an accent now? You know, I think any Australian will assure you that I do not elucidate, nor do I clarify my terms as they do. I do not use their vernacular. I do not use their slang. I do not have an Australian accent. And now I can kind of understand the frustration one feels when they feel like they are not being heard. I mean, moving from town to town as a corporate gypsy means I may get onboarded, or translation, hired, with a very large group starting on a project all at the same time. As a matter of fact, during one routine day at a routine American client site in one of those regular routine American cities, I remember I got an email from the main dispatch office, and it was very firmly worded. I mean, it was almost as if I was being scolded. Why? Well, apparently I was jeopardizing the entire client project and even the reputation of the dispatching agency. So I was being notified that because I didn't have my paperwork in order, I might get deported to my country. My country? My country of origin? You mean this one? America? The place I was born? I have a valid passport. It's blue. Apparently, what had happened is that in that large group hire, my paperwork was somehow misfiled and said that I required an H-1B visa or something like that in order to work legally in the United States. I mean, it happens. Not sure if it's because of my accent, but misunderstandings occur in workplace communication. I mean, just as another example, Once I met and then dined with a gentleman who shared that he had some military experience in his past, and I think he said that he was an expert at tactile maneuvers. Or was it tactical? It's hard to understand him because I remember it was cold and his face was partially hidden with one of those wool things which covers your head, mouth, and neck. I think it's a baklava, or maybe that was the dessert I had. Balaclava? I just remember that after dinner we strolled and found ourselves in the Apple store as he shared a little bit more about himself. I mean, he was genuinely concerned about the types of questions that little ones in a family might raise, such as, why do I not look like you? And he really wanted to be prepared to answer those tough questions. I mean, he was struggling with when would be the right time to have that yes, you are adopted conversation with his dog. But in that Apple store, we came to another realization, and that was that it was very difficult to see a future between us. And I think it might have been because there were no windows, no Microsoft Windows in that Apple store. Yeah, but social relationships, when you move around, they are very tricky to maintain. And after I find a place to live, I find generally a local grocery store, maybe the dry cleaners, a route or two to work, and then I explore local nightlife. Solo, unchaperoned, much to the chagrin of the instructor of etiquette finishing schools, where one is taught how to host dinner parties for diplomats instead of how to entertain an establishment of questionable characters to get to know the locals. In such an evening establishment with the whiff of nightlight residue, I have actually gotten that question, hey, come here often? And my first response is generally the truth. No. But then they don't seem to know how to respond. So I add, this is my first time here. But that results in a perplexed expression. So I have now come to add, but I have found a great gas station where I frequently refuel, as it is conveniently located betwixt work and home, a route I take often. However, I sometimes think that that may not be the response that they're looking for, because they sometimes melt back into the crowd after that. I remember another assignment which placed me in a region of a very warm temperature. And I recall this because as a contractor, only full-time staff, the hired employees, the W-2s, could be sitting in cubicles inside the main building experiencing something called air conditioning, with restroom facilities, working plumbing, and doors which closed and opened properly. Oh, I think they also had clocks which ran and displayed the current time, and each staff member had a trash can. Oh, and access to the supplies cabinet. That was a nice treat for me to see them in their native environment. The consultants, such as myself, for example, were placed in a portable trailer atop a heat-absorbing black asphalt parking lot in direct sun, with makeshift cubicles inside and one water cooler, which never quite got cool enough to be called a water cooler. I remember it got really very warm inside that trailer. And although the cubicles were small, I hope that I just did not subject any of my coworkers to my heat-infused body-generated aromas. I mean, you might have exceeded the fire code maximum number of bodies permitted in one location, but that's irrelevant. It is in an environment such as this where one learns the power of saying, oh. So allow me to clarify. One day in my humid aromatic trailer cube, for one, my on-site manager surprised me by standing behind me and then introducing me to a very large man whom I apparently had been assigned to mentor and was only just notified about. You see, I had been selected to be Big Brother. Oh, this is a new task. And my new protege is a very large man, well over 6 feet tall and possibly just as wide, who my manager now explains is going to share my cubicle with me. Oh, so I found a chair. 2 chairs do not easily fit at a desk, one empty, let alone filled with what I like to call human beings. Oh, I would say when my new little brother would try and, as I was working, try and scoot over so that we both could work there. And he shared that his previous job was in the big house. Oh, big house? As in a very large architecturally planned residence for a family, as opposed to some euphemism. And he clarified he tries not to use criticisms. And it was at that point that I noticed that this was going to be a notable workplace communication encounter, which I shall remember for a very long time. You see, he explained, as he showed me his homemade tattoos, that this was part of a work release program as he finished his sentence and eased back into society. And I'm not sure there is a prison module in European finishing schools, but I assume that manners are the same in every civilized pocket of society. They are appreciated, even if it means taking a soon-to-be ex-convict, throwing him into a hot box with incoherent management goals which fluidly change on a whim, and plumbing facilities way across a hot parking lot in that building over there, which, by the way, requires a special swipe card to gain entrance as long as it is timed to not interfere with the shift changes of the 24-hour-a-day facility workers and their support cubicle office staff. This could be the environment, the workplace of dreams he yearned for upon release of a sentence for a crime which apparently he was told to never speak of. So I never knew for which infraction he had been incarcerated. But that would be rude to pry if he had been, wouldn't it? But he did tell me that working there was very much a pancetta for him. As I suddenly found myself craving a sandwich from my local Italian deli, I asked if he meant panacea. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean, he replied. No, I'm trying to clarify, not sia, panacea, the solution to your troubles instead of deli meat. No, this place makes me feel like that red flower. You know, Christmas. You mean a poinsettia? So working here is like a Christmas gift for you? Hey, we can't all be mortadella and live happily ever after, but this place comes close. Mortadella? Or, oh, did you mean Cinderella? And it was at that moment that I realized through the eyes of another, I could see that there is always room to be respectful, polite, and count the blessings that you do have. I mean, Cinderella, mozzarella, mortadella, or a Nuvella umbrella. It's not the actual words which impact us, it's the intent of the message. Communication in the workplace. I mean, every job is different, every conversation unexpectedly enriches you. And I count my blessings daily for the gifts that I have been granted. And I hope you do too. Thank you for letting me share the lessons of workplace communication with you. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.